We're joined now by someone who knows all about entertaining children and their parents too. It's Lisa Henson.
Hi, Lisa.
Welcome. Now, we have some friends who have joined us. These are puppets from the new TV series, Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, based on your dad's film. So tell us what characters we have.
Well, I brought with me Brea, who is one of the lead Gelfling characters. So our lead characters are these elfin kind of puppets called the Gelfling. And this is a podling, which is a different type of puppet. It's just a completely jovial little villager character. And then the third main type of puppet that we have in the Dark Crystal are the Skeksis, which are memorable, horrible villains. I don't know if you remember them from your childhood.
No, I was going to say, well, the film was, of course, a family film, but it was quite scary. Is the new TV series as scary?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know, people look back on seeing Dark Crystal when they were children, and if they saw it at a certain time in their childhood, they remember being scared in a good way.
Yeah.
So we only want it to be scary in a good way. Like there's enough scares to keep it sophisticated.
Yeah.
But it's not for little kids, like maybe not for a 4 or 5-year-old. But you know, kids like to be brave when they're watching an adventure. They want to kind of push through it and go, "Oh, that was so scary, but I loved it so much."
Well, let's have a little look at what people can expect.
Throne. At its center, the crystal of truth, the source of all life. The Skeksis have corrupted it. And now our world is at risk from the darkening.
What is the darkening?
Behold.
It looks so impressive. And Marv and I were saying it's great to see, you know, a puppet film. I mean, obviously there's a bit of CGI in there, but you know, what do you think when week after week CGI films are being released? Is there still a place for puppetry?
We hope so. You know, we have definitely made the biggest puppet production ever. And we don't have a lot of competition. You know, the last biggest one was probably the Dark Crystal itself, you know, 37 years ago. But, you know, the craft is still very much alive, and we have brought back, you know, the puppet building techniques, the beautiful costumes. We have the original designer from the movie, whose name is Brian Froud, and he has so many followers of his fairy work. And also the puppeteering, which is really strong here in England. I don't know if you know that. You have many, many great puppeteers here in England. So we had almost every puppeteer in England work on this show at one point. You know, we're hoping people want to sample puppets because there's something really concrete about them. They're like real, and yet they don't try to be real, like a uncanny valley weird CG person. You know, they are. You can see their puppets, but they're so convincing, and the puppeteers bring them to life so beautifully.
Really will.
At least we must ask you about your childhood. What was it like growing up in the Henson household?
Oh my gosh. It's my brothers and sisters and our cat. We had a big family. My parents were both very creative. My mom started the company with my father, and then she became a mother and an art teacher. And so we had art projects galore in every way, just like so many creative projects around us. But really, I learned from my father how fun it is to do a job if it's a creative job. And so he never seemed overworked. He worked 24 hours a day, but he never seemed tired because he thought it was a privilege to get to do creative work and to be paid for that. And you know, and so we all kind of imbibed that you know, we're very fortunate to get to do exciting and creative projects.
Well, you're the CEO of the company now. You've been there for about 20 years. Are you trying to maintain your father's ethos, or trying to put your own stamp on it?
Well, we have to do both. You know, I can't. I'm too old to go. What would Jim do? You know, I have to do my own thing. We've the last 10 years launched about 6 new children's television series, but this particular project, which was doing a sequel to his favorite and most, you know, rewarding project, the whole company put everything into this, and our creature shop excelled at, you know, just trying to live up to the legacy of the original film. And we feel that we did, and we're proud of it, and we want people to sample puppets now.
No, exactly. Well, we're excited to see it. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is available on Netflix from next Friday.
Nearly 40 years ago, the talent behind the Muppets created the cult classic film The Dark Crystal right here in London. Now they've returned to make a prequel using the best talent available here to make the puppets come to life. Wendy Hurrell got a sneak peek at what we can expect.
For those of a certain age, this theme tune will conjure some nostalgia. And a few years before Fraggle Rock, Jim Henson brought us The Muppet Show. Those television series were filmed at Elstree Studios in Hertfordshire. So too was the film that he felt most proud of, The Dark Crystal.
A wondrous civilization.
Released in 1982, it was groundbreaking in its time.
My father had an amazing relationship with his financier, which was Lord Lugrade, and he gave him kind of a blank check. And we're still the beneficiaries now of all that R&D that they did. But the techniques, the animatronic techniques, almost all of that was developed for the Dark Crystal. What then became, like, through all the 80s and 90s, this sort of animatronic business.
When the Jim Henson Company decided to recreate the fantasy world of Thra for a television series, a prequel to the film, London was the only place to make it.
The techniques of, let's say, making a very natural-looking cave or this beautiful forest with handmade plants, you know, this kind of thing, it can't be done in most film communities, but the English film scene is still can do everything.
To accompany the release on Netflix, there's an exhibition at the BFI. It features work by the illustrator and puppet maker who married after working on the original film.
Sat in the workshop, rather in awe of everything, because I love the Muppets.
He was so shy. Oh, he was just terribly shy.
To be surrounded by fur and feathers and ping pong balls, it made me so happy.
On the South Bank, props and puppets are on show until the 6th of September. They'll come to life on our screens on August the 30th. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.